This is Grace. Have I talked about the Nashville explosion? No, I have been watching that, and I have been shocked by it and trying to figure it out like everybody else. So many bizarre things that happened with the Nashville explosion were, one of the things that is kind of scary about this type of situation is that this guy was not on anybody's radar, just like the Las Vegas shooter. It's like the day we find out about them is the day that they commit a horrific act. Of course, the difference between Las Vegas and the Nashville shooter is it appears that, not the Nashville shooter, the Nashville bomber, that the Nashville bomber was looking to create a name for himself. He told the neighbor that everybody in the world would know his name and that he would be famous in Nashville. But it doesn't look like he wanted to take any lives to get that fame. He just wanted to kill himself and destroy property. In fact, that's what Grace is saying. She says, I couldn't believe the amount of damage. This was a massive explosion. But according to the reports, the guy, it's just funny. We were just talking about Teslas that have speakers on the outside that you can play music. This guy broadcast a message, a countdown message that everybody should leave the area because a bomb was going to go off. And a law enforcement officer heard it and started getting people out of the area, potentially saving lives. It's a very unique, strange situation. Just makes you wonder what this man was going for and what he was trying to do. It just seems to me that he had decided to take his own life, but he wanted to have fame on the way out. And we know that fame and media coverage can become a primary motivator for people like this. But yeah, I agree with you, Grace. The explosion and the damage was pretty amazing. Grace asked, do you remember the names of mass shooters? Why do mass shooters think this? Well, because they see it. They see a mass shooting and they watch, and we're getting better. The media is really learning a lesson here, but they see the image of the shooter. Oftentimes in the past, we would play their final message or the reasons, their motivations for doing it. And we would also be in a 24-hour news cycle. And so early on in the days of mass shootings, the media would cover these things 24/7 for weeks at a time. And I think that we're all finally kind of learning the lesson that, yeah, you have to report on these things, but there are certain things that you don't need to report and you don't need to dwell on them. There are news organizations that have decided not to share the name anymore, unless what will happen is you'll have law enforcement will ask the media to share the name because they're looking for leads or they're looking for connections or things like that. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, is that oftentimes it's law enforcement asking the media to help them share a message, but we want to blame the media for everything that goes on. The media plays a huge role in finding leads, in tracking down suspects. And so, like everything else, the media is a double-edged sword. With the great good that it brings, it also brings a lot of bad. And so over the years, the media is learning how to mitigate that. But for a long time, shooters would just, their faces and their final messages and their recordings. I remember the Virginia Tech shooting. Remember that guy's videos that he made before he was shot? I've seen those videos. Why have I seen those videos? I didn't go looking for those videos. I would never do that. But I've seen those videos. So those types of those types of things would definitely make people think, well, they already probably have some type of mental health issue. They've decided that they want to take their life. And now they've decided they want to have some level of fame in doing so. And it all kind of comes together. Grace says, interesting about law enforcement. Yeah, it's I can tell you that specifically, I've seen over the 20 years that I've been in radio, I've seen the press releases from law enforcement, and they will specifically say, and if they're putting it in a press release, they want it to be shared. You know that law enforcement withholds information in investigations. They do it all the time because they want to reserve that information for their investigations and find out things that only the perpetrator would know. So when they release that information, typically they want it out there, and they will specifically ask for the media to share a phone number for tips, or they'll say, we're looking for this license plate, or we're looking for this suspect vehicle, or that type of thing. When they first, with the Nashville bombing, they put out a picture of that RV, and they asked the media to spread the picture of that RV so that they could track down any leads, because at that particular time, they didn't know if there was anybody else involved. They didn't know if this was a terror network or anything else. So they immediately went to the media because they don't have a megaphone like the media. And that's why it bothers me sometimes when the media gets such a bad name. People don't understand the important role that they do play in regards to investigations. I can't tell you how many investigations have been solved because of the media and their involvement, but the media just gets a bad rap with everything nowadays. So that's unfortunate. So Grace, those are just kind of some of my initial thoughts about that. I really wonder what was going through his mind at the time. Please take a minute and support the podcast. If you pause and scan that flow code, is what it's called, on the screen, make a one-time donation or become a monthly patron, that will help me out. My goal is to podcast every single day and bring fearless honesty to you as much as I am able. But right now, like so many, I've got a couple side hustles, and I'm doing what I can to pay the bills. Since my run for Congress, I'm not on the radio anymore, but I am still doing my best to reach as many of you as I can.